Hi, students. Welcome to the session. Can somebody just type and confirm whether you are able to hear me and see me well? If you can just let me know that on the chat. I'm assuming you can until I hear otherwise. But is my screen still blank? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, welcome to the first session of Satkam Campus to Corporate program for this semester. My name is Abhijit Bhide. I'm one of the co-founders of Satkam. Let me tell you who I am and what Satkam is before we get started. So, I have close to 30 years of experience in the industry. I can see some no sir, yes sir. So are you telling me some of you cannot see or hear me? One second. Can you guys hear me or now, or is there a problem with audio? Can you guys hear me? Just give me a thumbs up or a yes or a no. Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, perfect. And you can hear me also, I'm assuming. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So as I said, I'll just repeat. My name is Abhijit Bide. I'm one of the co-founders of Satkam. Satkam is a non-profit. It's a foundation or organization started by people from the industry like me. We are more than 75 of us in Satkam. Our whole idea is to do this for students to get them employment ready and attractive to the industry to hire. I myself have close to 30 years of experience. I have worked in the US, I have worked in India, I have worked all over the world, and I have been fortunate to work for a product companies all my life who have been bought out by other companies, or I have been part of acquisitions. And I've seen in my lifetime three, in a sense, big technical revolutions or evolutions. The first one was the biggest, which was the internet. So I graduated in the mid 90s and internet was just coming. So as you can imagine, that was a very big deal. And my background is mechanical engineering, right? So I that time, as I was getting into the industry, internet had just come and every company was trying to figure out what to do with it. And it was very challenging at that time for new graduates like me who are joining companies, and all of a sudden the expectations had changed on what the company is going to do, what kind of skills they require, so on and so forth. And then eventually after that, I also saw the evolution of what we call as cloud computing, cloud, then the mobile, and now we are sitting on the fourth one, which is AI, right? I have a feeling AI is going to be as big as the internet, and I think you guys know that. It has all the same opportunities and risks, both, as we had with the internet, right? You can use it properly or you can misuse it. Some companies are going to do really well, and some companies are going to try and not succeed. Same with people. Any employees or any graduate students like you are going to try to look for a job. Uh, you need to now, from this point onwards, understand what is expected out of you, because I can promise you the expectation from the industry from new graduates has changed completely, right? It's not the same as it was 5 years back. And I'm going to speak a little more about this. But when I was in the industry, right, we used to look a lot more people who are doing things, doers, right? Because the technology was complex, everything was new, so there are a lot of effort in even doing things. And then we had few people who we use for thinking and coming up with product ideas and customer management and so on and so forth. But a lot of people are in the doing part. Now the doing part, you get tons of help, right? I mean AI, but even before AI it had started, but with AI especially, you get tons of help on the doing part. So now we need people who are all who can do think and do, right? So we call them full stack employees now, right? So I take a lot of interviews even today. I advise 6 companies on products and leadership today, right? Startup, mid-size to little big. And everywhere in the interviews I take also, the expectation has completely changed. Now it's more about application of knowledge. So while you'll be learning what you're learning, we are not going to ask you as much about data structures, and we'll ask you just to test your technical knowledge, but that's secondary. First we are trying to see whether you can apply it, because a lot of the code, I mean, I know you guys are also using cloud code and whatnot to generate, right? So what we need to understand is whether you guys can now help me solve problems. Can you help me think about build products? Before we had compartmentalized. There were some employees who only used to do product management, product marketing, design separately, testing separately, development separately, deployment separately. I think my gut feeling is all going to collapse. Employees will need to now understand everything end to end. So what Satkam at Satkam, what we are trying to do is give you those skills. So while you're in college, you'll be learning all the technical skills. What we want to do is give you guys the skills which will make you thinkers, where you can apply your knowledge properly, right? So application of knowledge. So all the topics we'll do this semester, and every semester around that. So today we'll be doing a topic called understanding companies, but we'll do product solutioning. We'll do how products are released to the market. We'll even do AI, by the way, but we'll not talk about AI as well. We'll talk about application of AI and how companies are thinking about it, right? And believe me, guys, all of you guys need to now pay a lot of attention to ensure that you become thinkers, which means that, and we're going to define what that means by that. There are four key skills you need to acquire to do that, right? And our hope and our quest is to basically help you with that through the semester. Like me, you will be talking to at least few across the semester, at least 10, 15 different people who are from the industry, who are CEOs, who are VPs, who are technical architects, so on and so forth, who are doing very well today, and they're working full time, by the way. But they're going to spend 2 hours with you in a week to impart what they learned over their time, right? So take full advantage of that. Now today, the format of the session will be that I'll be speaking with you like this from time to time. I have created the session based on what my understanding, my knowledge, and how I want to teach you this topic. And then in between, we are going to do some Q&A. And what we'll also do is sometime in between, I'll take the attendance. Sometime in between, we'll also do a quiz. And both need to be done, as I explained, for your college. That's what your college has told us, for you guys to be marked attended. Yeah, so we'll do that. On the chat, please, I would hope that you can you ask a lot of questions. I'll be here to answer any question you have. I'll stay after the session also. In case you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer the questions also, right? And in case I see somebody doing stuff on the chat which is disturbing the session, which is disturbing the students who are trying to pay attention, they'll be removed from the session completely, right? So I'll be monitoring the chat, and I please don't, if you want to chat with your friends, do it separately, not on this session, because there will be people who are paying a lot of attention. I mean, I can tell you from the last two sessions, so many students reached out to Satkam or me and some of us afterwards with ideas, with questions. I'm very encouraged by your friends who have attended on Tuesday and Friday, who have come back with questions, who have come back with ideas, who are trying to take advice on internships, on startups, on products, on employment, a lot of things, right? And I hope you guys also going to do that. Be very curious. I'm sure all of you guys want to get good jobs, do well in the industry. And right now, if you can see the job situation, it's not great. But as I said, there'll be some people who do really, really well, and some will be left behind. We hope to ensure that none of you get left behind. Okay. With that said, we'll get started with today's topic, and I'll be speaking with you from time to time, and we'll do Q&A. But as you're listening to this, if you have any questions, type them, and I can promise you I'll answer each and every question. All right? Great. Thank you. Let's start. Hello all. So first and foremost, welcome to the session. This session is about understanding companies. So basically, I'm going to go through some basics of that, and before you get into the actual topic, and also methodology for all of you to basically know this topic really well and use it in your day-to-day life. Now, as the topic says, just to do a little recap, understanding companies, what is it and why is it even important, right? So wherever you do, whatever you do in life, right, whether you're going to start your own business, you're going to work for somebody, it's extremely important to know how you understand what you're working on and why, right? Because unless you understand who you're working for, what you're working on, and why, you'll never be able to contribute truly to organization. And what is happening now is, as in the changing world with especially AI coming in, right? All employers are looking for anybody joining them to basically contribute beyond their assigned work. I mean, you must be hearing this about this from your seniors, from what is happening around you, reading about it. So this whole concept of understanding, right, is critical now, because even if you when you join any company, you're either going to work on a product or you're going to work on in a, some offer some service. But the people who are able to contribute the best are the people who know, oh, okay, wait a second, what is this service for? Who is using it? So what features should I give? What features should I not give? And when you join as a fresher, you don't have a good understanding of that, so you keep doing the work assigned to you, and after some time there are some people who understand this and keep giving ideas and going upwards in the organization while many stay behind. So what we are trying to do is to bridge that gap, to make sure that guys can also think the way companies expect you to think and contribute to this area called understanding companies. Right now, why, as I said, right, the world is changing as we are looking at it, guys. So basically, uh, there was a time 10 years back, 20 years back, 30 years back, where doers or the people who were assigned work and they did that really well were truly important to organizations, because everything was new. A lot of new languages were getting written, databases were coming in, cloud was coming in, mobile was coming in. So there are few people who figured things out, and there are many people who actually took that and did assigned work, may it be building, coding, testing, whatever it may be, right? But that whole area has collapsed now with the world, with AI coming in, right? Because the doing part, you're getting a lot of help now, right? So if I have to do the doing part and I'm getting a lot of help, what companies are expecting now is saying that, okay, if you're getting so much help, what more can you do for our company, right? Where can you contribute more to acquire more customers, gain more revenue, get customer satisfaction, make sure our customers are happy using our product. Now when I was in after engineering, when I went into companies, I never got exposed to such things because we are very busy just doing our assigned work. But no longer true, and this is why the best people in the world leading big companies, right from Google to Facebook to even non-software companies, the CEOs are saying that we need creative thinkers now. And we believe that in Satcom, these four skills which we are giving here, which is curiosity and inquisitiveness, critical thinking, problem solving, and articulation, are the four key skills which actually enable you to become those creative thinkers, right? And in all our sessions, what we are going to do is try to make you employment ready, to make you attractive for employers to hire, so that you can demonstrate all these skills, the thinking skills, along with the doing part, which are anyway learning, right? So in today's topic also, we are going to give you a thinking framework, that if I have to understand a company, when I join a company, how will I even know what am I doing, why am I doing it, so on and so forth, so I can contribute my best. So we are going to give you some techniques to do that, right? So we are going to help you become thinkers, right? So now you become a thinker doer, right? For all practical purpose. Now, the to understand any company, right? You basically have four things which you need to understand. There is something called a domain. There is something called a customer. There is something called offering, which is the product or service you offer, and a strategy, right? If you understand these four things, you'll understand any company, right? And as we go through the session today, you will understand the importance of knowing all the four, right? But knowing all the four, nobody's going to come and give it to you. Nobody's, when you join any organization or you go for an interview to join a company, nobody's going to hand it to you and saying, oh, this is our domain, these are our customers, this is our product, and this is our strategy, right? A lot of things you have to learn to figure out, right? Now what are these four things? So domain is basically the area the company works in. So for example, right, if we are talking about we talked about Facebook, Facebook and Google and so on and so forth. So you are in this world of social media, for example. Or if you talk about a Mahindra and Mahindra or a Tata or a Hyundai, they are in the world of automotive, right? So these are broad domains, right? So or if you talk about companies like Cipla or Dr. Reddy's, they are in the area of pharmaceutical domain, right? Now, why is it important to know domain? Because a domain is never constant, right? Because things keep changing. So within a domain, you'll have many companies who are your competitors, right? Who will be there, but not every time you will be able to make the same products through time, because the domain itself is changing, right? New innovations are coming, new things are happening. So if you don't understand the shift in those domains, right, then you'll not be able to adapt your product, you'll not be able to improve your product and build something which now the customers need. So AI is a very good example now, right? There is a big domain shift in the area of IT, information technology, right? It has affected the whole domain. It has affected the way things are getting built. Now, if you don't pay attention to that, you are going to be left behind. And this is a very big example. But there are many small examples of domain shifts, right? So, for example, in the world of automotive engineering, right? Now they are seeing that all of a sudden a lot of governments in the world are bringing in norms for pollution control, right? So you have ethanol based petrol coming in, or you have new norms coming for how much pollution, or how much, what is the pollution each car can cause maximum, right? Now if you don't pay attention to the domain, which is how the government is started looking at this space called in the automobile space, or this domain, you will be late in trying to now say, okay, what do I need to do engineering wise to innovate and make my cars more green, right? If you don't see these shifts in the domain of how customers are looking at it, how governments are looking at it, how the market is looking at it, you will not be have enough time to react and respond, right? So good companies always pay a lot of attention to domains. What is happening overall in their area, correct? Because the shift in those areas causes shift in the customers also, right? Talking about customers, not every company targets the same customers, even if they are in the same domain. We'll take an example in a minute. Like for example, if you take OTT space, Hotstar, which is now Geo Hotstar, doesn't target the same customers as Netflix, right? Hotstar targets different customers than Netflix altogether. Maruti doesn't target the same customers as a Mercedes or a BMW at all, right? Now, if you don't understand who you are targeting, how will you build a good product? Because if you try to sell a BMW to a middle class or a middle class person, he won't buy it, right? If you try to sell an EV car to a person in the rural areas who is a farmer, or who is part of a town or a small village, he won't buy it, right? And these are extreme examples, but unless you understand your customer, you cannot build good product. So within the domain there are customers, and now you cannot target every customer within your domain, because if you target every customer within your domain, you're going to need a lot of money. You're going to need so much time and money that you'll never be able to afford it. So companies decide who to target. That's called customers, right? So if you think of any company, right, you will see that there are particular customers they are targeting, and we'll take an example of that also, right? What is the offering? Finally, offering is the product you build. But the product you don't start with the product. You understand what the domain is, you understand what the customers you're targeting, and then you build a product for them. You don't build a product and then start searching for customers and start looking at what the domain is all about, right? So the third part, which is the part you guys will be most involved in, is the offering or the product or service, right? So when you join any company, you'll be asked to work on some product or service. You'll be asked to develop a feature, fix a bug, fix a issue, but you'll be working on a product finally, correct? Now, if you work on a product and you have no understanding of who your customer is and why they are even going to buy your product or use your product, then you will not be able to contribute to any ideas. You don't know whether this capability is better than this. How would you know that, right? If you understand all the three, so let's say you understand the domain, you understand your customers, you understand the product, right? Then you understand the strategy of that company, right? So if you take I'll give you an example in a minute, but strategy is always output. We are always very excited about what is the strategy of this company, what is the strategy of Apple, what is the strategy of Reliance, what is the strategy of let's say Mahindra and Mahindra, correct? What is the strategy of let's say Dell computers now? So if you think about it, right, strategy comes out of the management of that company, or the people in that company understanding the domain they are in, the customers they are targeting, and thus the product they are building, right? Then they put money behind it, and where they put money tells you their strategy. What are they investing in? That clearly is the strategy, right? The strategy is all about investments of time and money. So all you have to pay attention to, where is the customer, where is the company putting the money, where are they putting the most focus and people, and then you can understand, oh, okay, this is what I mean by strategy, right? So these are the four pillars, right? If you understand these four pillars of any company, you'll definitely understand the whole company, right? And why is that important is what we are going to learn. If you understand these four, why is it critical, right? for you to know this overall topic. Now, very simple example. We just talked about Hotstar, Netflix. So, Hotstar, as you know, has been in their claim to fame was sports entertainment, right? When you thought Hotstar, you thought IPL. So now, if you look at the domain they're in the OTT domain, they're in the entertainment domain, right? The entertainment domain has shifted a lot, right? It has come all the way from you know street dramas all the way to movies, television, video cassettes, CDs, DVDs, and now it has come all the way to online streaming, right? Now, if does a Netflix compete with Hotstar? Yes, it does. But does it compete always for the same type of customer? Maybe not, because Hotstar, its always claim to fame was sports entertainment. So they targeted people, young people especially, who are willing to, who are passionate about sports, and they will subscribe to Hotstar for sports. Whereas Netflix, if you know, always notice Netflix was a premium, it's a premium product, right? The amount of money they charge per month is much higher, but they're still able to make a lot of money. Why is that? The reason is because they are targeting serious entertainment watchers, right? That's why they make original stuff. They make original movies, documentaries. They're investing a lot in actually creating things because they want serious entertainment people, a little above the age of 30, 35, 40 people who are working and can afford to pay, right? Whereas Hotstar is targeting volumes of people, which is why if you notice on Hotstar, right, that translates into a product. They'll always, while showing IPL or anything, right, they'll tell you 12 crore people watching, 5 crore people watching. The reason is they're going after many people, as many young people who are interested in sports, and they're going after the volume game. Whereas Netflix doesn't tell you that. Netflix doesn't say, oh, this movie is right now being watched by 2,000 people. They don't say that, right? They are a premium product, they want a premium experience. So if you notice, both are in the entertainment space, but the kind of customers they are targeting are very different. And that has given rise to their strategy also, because the domain is the same. They are seeing the shift in the domain, where it is headed. So they always pay attention to that, right? So Netflix has, of course, moved from renting DVDs and CDs to online streaming as cloud evolved, right? So they are paying attention to the technology changes in their domain, which is why they succeeded. But when they started targeting their customers, they also knew they wanted premium customers, right? Serious entertainment watchers, which is why if you notice their product is relatively serious product. Whereas on Hotstar, you will see some gamification. You will see them, targeting what young people like, the color scheme. So the product is actually a result of them knowing where they are in their domain, who their competition is, and the kind of customers they want to target. So if you're working for any of these companies, right? If you're in Netflix, for example, you better be very, very good in machine learning, AI, data science, so on and so forth, because they focus a lot on recommendations, on telling the customer what they would like to see. Whereas Hotstar, you better be very good in performance engineering. They are very focused on handling volumes without buffering, because live sports streaming requires a highly robust product which doesn't buffer even if there are crores of people watching. So you better be very good in performance engineering, right? Now, if you're interviewing at this company and you understood this, then you would prepare the right way, and you would also target in the interview when you're asked, you're going to answer with the understanding of what the company knows is important for them, right? And that will also allow you to understand, right, what their strategy is, where are they investing, right, over time. So if you take Mahindra's example, right, Mahindra used to always sell to rural people, right? They used to have the Boleros, the Jeeps, so on and so forth. Early 2010, 2008, 2010, 12, around that period, they made their first urban vehicle, big urban vehicle, because they saw one of the things, the shift in the domain which happened in India was people started preferring big cars, SUVs. Mahindra was one of the companies which saw this very early. So they made the Scorpio, right? A lot of companies did not, so they came very late with products. Mahindra was one of the early entrants, and they actually were at a disadvantage. They didn't have much urban customers. But from where they were to where they are, the reason is because they saw the shift in their domain of people preferring big vehicles, SUVs in India very early, earlier than others actually, right? and then they started making vehicles for the urban population to sell it in big metros, correct? And now while they make tractors and they still make the Bolero, right? If you look at a lot of the revenue, it is coming from urban vehicles now, and now they have moved to urban electric vehicles also. So they basically created an urban strategy. Now, if you're watching this space, right, you would have noticed that why is Mahindra all of a sudden investing in urban vehicles? Why are they not investing more and more in still in the rural space? Because they also saw that in India, our average incomes were growing, people's tastes were changing, right? So they would be left behind, and they would lose a big market which was growing very rapidly, right? They would lose it to a Hyundai or a Tata or a Kia or whatever, right? So they moved fast and they created a strategy around urban customers, right? And now because of that they learned, and they're also very early in the electric vehicle game, right? So this is what I mean by a strategy is a resultant of a company understanding the domain shifts or domain changes, the customers they are targeting, and thus they build a product. And when you look at all these, then you will understand the strategy of the company, right? So these are kind of so simple examples to just set ourselves up for today's session on, as when you join as a fresher in any company or you go for an interview, right? How would you look at this, right? How does this help you when you start your job, right? We are going to go through this method which I told you, going from domain to customers to products or offering to strategy, is when you're allowed to research and get everything together, right? But that is not reality. You'll join a company, you'll be asked to work on a product, right? Directly. So you're starting from the product now. You're not starting from the domain. You may join a Zomato or Swiggy, or you may join a Mahindra or a Tata, or you may join Asian Paints or any company, right? You can join any company post your graduation, right? But whenever you move into that company, the first thing you'll be told to work on some product, either to build something, test something, sell something, market something, but you'll always start with the product. So if you're going to start with a product, how is this methodology going to help you is what we're going to learn today, right? So this is the gap I talked about, right? I mean, we did talk about the normal methodology, but now on the job, in most cases, right, you are going to work on, start working with the product, right? And that is what I'm calling as a reverse method, right? A reverse method means reading a company backward, because the one thing you will be definitely exposed to is the product, right? That's for sure. But the moment you are exposed to a product, from the product, how do I get to the strategy? How do I understand the domain, the customer, the strategy, starting from the product, right? Actually, it's very, very interesting, because this methodology, right, you can take any product. I'm going to give a couple of examples today, but then you can use this method to just take literally any product. Take a smartphone, right, and say this: looking at the smartphone features, can I get to know what kind of customers the company making this smartphone is targeting? What are the shifts in the domain they're realizing, and what is their strategy? You can actually figure that out, right? Look, that makes you a very good thinker. You start understanding. So we'll learn that today, right? So in this method, what you start, it's like in 4 parts, right? So you always, as I said, you'll always start with the product. So the first thing you do in this method is you list the capabilities, right? So what I mean by capabilities is you take any product. So if I take a smartphone, you're going to list down what all features does a smartphone have, right? If you take a product like a car, you're going to say what are the key features of the car? What does this car have which is so different or better than others? What do they market? What are these key features they have? You don't have to write all the 100, 200 features. I'm talking only about the very important key features of the product, right? Because the key features are the ones the company always invests in. They focus on that, right? So you make a list. So that is the first step, right? Now from that you go back and ask the question saying, wait a second, who are they building it for? Because once you understand the features, you're going to know that wait a second, they are targeting a certain type of customer, right? So for example, if you take a car example, right, you're going to see that some cars or some vehicles have a much bigger ground clearance, right, than the others, right? And looking at just that feature, now it's going to make difficult for somebody to step into the car, but they're still given a very big ground clearance. Who are the customer they're targeting? They're targeting customers who are potentially in rurals or town area who are doing some off-road driving, right, where they don't want the vehicle to get damaged, because it is a little uncomfortable to get into such vehicles, right? But that feature has been built for a reason, correct? So now if you look at anything, I mean, you can look at any product, you can look at your you can look at your, for example, your earphones, and list down the key features of your headphones or earphones, and say who are they targeting with this, right? And you're going to notice that they are not, because the features also determine the price of the product. They also determine the amount of complexity of the product, right? So if the feature is very good, right, but quite complicated to use, you know they are not targeting old people or aged people, because no aged person, old person is going to buy a complicated product even if the features are fantastic. So you know now they are targeting the young tech savvy population, right? Just looking at the features, you'll know that, correct? So now to infer the customer, and whenever you join a company, guys, all this data is available with you, right? You can look at the features and you'll know, okay, who is using the features. Then you can look at the type of customers who they have, and then you can infer saying, oh, okay, I get it now. These are the type of customers, right? They're targeting. From that, right? Then you can also infer saying, why would they target these kind of customers? Why are they even doing this? There are so many other customers, right? Why these type? These features I know we have built. I'm working on one of these features, right? And I'm targeting, I know now what kind of customer they're targeting, but what happened? Why these customers? Now you can understand what happened in that domain. And I will go through a couple of very good examples of this, and you'll understand how easy this is once you apply yourself, right? So you'll know that if I know all the features which are key, which they are building, and I'm going to work on them. And now I understand my customer, what all things are happening in the domain. And domain also means the big shifts happening, who is the competition, what are the things which are happening in that domain which can cause an impact on how customer looks at a product, right? So I gave you an example, we stick with the example of automotive, right? If the government says there is a norm, if the domain shift is that they want more than X% cars to be electric or hybrid, right? And the customers keep hearing about green, about the government pushing for this, their preferences are going to change. So if you now keep making vehicles which give you a low average, right, 8, 9, 10 average or lesser, and you keep building those, and you don't pay attention to the shift which is happening to the customer, because the government is continuously marketing how it is important now from a country's perspective to go towards EV cars, you're going to miss that wave of customers who are going to shift from IC engines to EV, right? Correct? But there is a reason why the company moved to EV in the first place, correct? And that is what you'll understand when you start knowing your product, your customer, and thus look at what happened in that domain, right? When you put all these three things together, now you're going to say, where are they putting the money? Lot of the money now has moved from traditional cars to EV. Now you're going to start understanding why and how much. Maybe some companies, not all companies are doing that, right? Some companies are sticking with the strategy of traditional IC engine. They are just making them more and more efficient, right? Is that why is that strategy being deployed by that company? You are going to figure that out when you look at their customers, right? So the main theme here, guys, is you're always going to start with a product. When you join any company, you go for an interview also. Most questions in an interview will be around some product, right? Now, if you in your head you have this framework, right, you can quickly start going backwards and look at the product and say, what are the key features? Don't look at the whole product. Don't look at everything. Just say, what are the 10 or 5 or 10% or 20% key features because of which the customers are buying this product, right? So as an example, Apple phones. Now, Samsung phones are not bad, nor are any other Android phones. But one key reason why people buy Apple phones is security, right? So one of the key features of Apple phones which they keep marketing is security. I know they compete on camera and other things, but they are very good with other phones also. But security is something they believe is for them is far better than other phones, other providers, right? So now if you're going for an interview with Apple, right, if you look at their phone and understand what does it mean by saying their phones are secure, then they'll say, okay, they are targeting customers who are willing to pay a premium for the security they are providing. So then that's why their phones are always priced very high. They never give much discounts because they are targeting a base who can afford it and who are willing to pay for that security, right? And then you'll understand the strategy around the marketing they do, the advertisements they do, everything they do. You'll see that, oh, the customers are saying, oh, they're that good that I'll pay a 30-40% premium on the over the price of other phones for Apple. Then you start understanding the strategy, and which is how you can prepare them to succeed in such companies, right? Now, this is a very interesting one, right? All companies, while they are deciding what to build, the more important thing they're deciding is what not to build, right? Think about it. I can build so many. If I take a phone, right? I mean, tomorrow can Samsung or OnePlus or Xiaomi or anybody, can't they build, can't they invest a lot of money to do things which Apple is investing in, or vice versa? But they're not doing that, right? Because for their customer base, there is no premium they're going to get if they do that, right? You can see the same with cars. A Maruti will not invest on certain things the way certain other car companies are doing, because they have a loyal customer base who looks for certain things, right? I always give the example of, let's say, a Hero Splendor, right? Hero Splendor has been the best selling two-wheeler or motorcycle for the last 10 years, right? And if you look at Hero Splendor, the design doesn't change much, right? Now, they could also be tempted to make the Hero Splendor compete with the other brands, right? Other brands which look cooler, which are slicker, which have more features. But no, they know that the reason Hero Splendor is bought by everybody today is because they are not compromising on the mileage. Mileage is critical. So they are continuously decide how they don't want to compromise the things customers buy. So what not to do to compromise that is also equally important to the people deciding in Hero on what to put in Splendor in the next version of Splendor versus not. So what not to do is also as important as what to do. So when you look at a product, also ask yourself, what have they not done? So like I give an example, if you take a phone, a car, anything, you're going to say, okay, these are the key features, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But ask the question, what have they not done which their competition is doing? What they are not done will also tell you, right? What are the kind of customers they are not targeting? What are the kind of strategies they are not having, right? So in these examples, two simple examples, right? For fast food delivery app, right? Schedule for, it's a very extreme example, but you'll never see such a button, right? Whereas on a Myntra or a Flipkart or Amazon, you can schedule a day you want the delivery. Obviously, you won't do it for a food app, right? This is an extreme example, but think about it. There are more complicated things where you're going to say, why are they not doing it? Right? The competition is doing it, but they are not doing it. And when you ask the question why they're not doing it, you'll get to understand, because the kind of customer they are targeting doesn't need it or won't pay more even if you give it, right? Same for a banking app, right? An example is given that we get very frustrated, right? That why are they not directly, when I say I want help, why are they not connecting me to an agent, right? Because they are charging you very less fees to open a bank account, very less fees, correct? So now they cannot afford to have a person talk to you when you have a problem. So that's why it's a chat. But they entice you to go to premium account. So keep more money in the bank or pay an annual fee. Credit cards do that all the time. And then they will give you a premium person to talk, directly a person to talk to. So the strategy for them is, when there are companies or there are banks that are targeting low-end customers who will have very small amount of deposits, and basically it's okay for them as long as what they have been given work, right? I won't invest in providing them better service with respect to agent or all that. Chat is what I will do. Where there are companies, right? I mean, you may not know this, but there is a card called American Express, right? American Express has been traditionally targeting very high premium customers. So whenever they give you like premium services, right, in terms of hotel reservations, golf and bookings and whatnot, but they don't go to the people in the lower rung who want a credit card quickly, because they are not going out of volumes, right? So now whenever you have a problem, a person will talk to you there, right? And there are some banks which also do that for premium customers. Now what is that strategy? You will need to get to know that, because you are developing those features, right? Correct? So what the rule it's below says, na, capability and its deliberate absence read together narrows down the customer far better than the capability alone. Very important, guys. What the product doesn't have will also tell you a story, but what it doesn't have tells you, okay, it doesn't have because, oh, these customers are not getting targeted. Oh, because in this domain, this part of the domain, they don't care right now. Okay? So it's a very important point, right? So generally, just give you a methodology, right? We call it the reverse engineering canvas, right? So you go from basically capability means what does the product do and not do. We just talked about that at length, right? The customer who needs it, basically who am I targeting and why, right? And they have to pay for it. Finally, we are talking about for-profit company. So every feature I do has to result in that customer staying with me or choosing me over the competition or paying me more, right? So that's how you look at a customer with respect to the features you have built into the product. Then the domain signal, right? What are the big shifts in the domain? We talked about the shift in the automotive domain with respect to petrol prices, or ethanol, or moving towards green. So similarly, things are happening on the phone, in the mobile or the communication domain. Things are happening in the same way. Where if you notice the kind of stuff mobile companies or smartphone companies are investing in, it's also because of big shifts happening in that domain with respect to the chips which are coming out, with respect to the with AI also. So you're going to see many more shifts happening, right? And strategy, as I said, is a resultant, correct? So I mean, the question to ask is, what would I ask a company to test or challenge, right? I mean, my inference. So basically, I am trying to figure this out. So now, how do I prepare to know, right? So I start with the product, then I look at their customers, then look at their domain and competition, and then I create what I believe is their strategy. And then I validate that strategy, which is my understanding. Imagine how smart you will look in front of a company when you go for interviews, or when you start doing your job, when you talk to your manager and ask him questions, you understand this framework, right? Then you're not the person sitting quietly in a room. You're always going to be the person who is going to ask the right questions, because you understand the whole picture, right? So I'm going to take an example to explain this to you even a better way of Zerodha, right? So Zerodha, I hope many of you know it, but Zerodha is one of the big successes in India. They are basically an online broking platform, right, where you buy and sell stocks. Now they have been very, very successful. There are hundreds and hundreds of companies doing this. There are hundreds and hundreds of brokers in India doing this. Every small village also has a broker. Lots of people in India invest in stocks and mutual funds and bonds, right? So it's a very crowded market, very competitive market. In that kind of a space, Zerodha has become very, very successful. So imagine that I'm sure some of you, a lot of you would love to work for a company like Zerodha. They are extremely innovative company who make a lot of money and does really, really well in their space, right? Now, if you're going to go for an interview with Zerodha, right, and you study their product is going to tell you a big story. If you join Zerodha also, you will know exactly what kind of skills they are looking for, because their product is going to now allow you to understand their customer and allow you to understand their domain and their strategy. How, right? So now in this, as I said, nowadays, I mean, it's very simple, right? Such companies, the simplest thing they do is ask you to open their product and ask you, what do you think? And lot of people, lot of students go into technology. They say that, oh, you're using AI, you're using Python, you're using C++. They're not asking for that. They're testing your understanding, right? They're asking you whether to help them make a better product or build a great product for the ideas they have. Are you the person who will understand the domain, the customer, the current product, and their strategy to contribute to that thinking? That's what they're trying to ask. And most interviews you're going to get this question now, right? You're not told a strategy. They're trying to test whether you can understand it, right? So now, in our methodology, the first step was I list down the key capabilities of the Zerodha app, right? And it's okay, guys, if you're not seen the Zerodha app. It's not expected that you know it. But remember, it just simplistically, it allows you to buy and sell stocks, bonds, mutual funds. Very simple, right? And their app is called Kite app, Kite. It's an app they have on the phone, or you can go to zerodha.com, right, to see this. And that's what people use to buy and sell, correct? So that's their product. You can have a mobile app on iPhone or Android phones or any other platform, or you can do on a browser, right? Now, if I take a list of capabilities and I use our methodology and type it out, right? One of the things I notice is, oh, they don't charge any brokerage on equity delivery, right? So basically, they are saying we'll not charge you any brokerage, which means what brokerage means is before, right, or many companies or even physical brokers, they charge you some fee when they sell a stock for you or buy a stock for you. So Zerodha says we won't charge you anything, right? They are saying that basically, and they say that clearly, zero fees, Zerodha, right? Then they basically have a lot of education they try to, they try to get you to become better investors, a knowledgeable investors. It's not just about doing it like gamble. Zerodha focuses on educating you to become informed investors. Why are they doing that? It's not their job to do it. There are hundreds of YouTube videos. But there are like, if you want to learn, you learn on your own. But they are not saying that. They are saying no, we'll help you learn. That's one of the things you will notice on their app a lot. Then their UI is very simple to use. Just for curiosity, after our session, you can download Kite, right, and look at very minimalistic UI, simple buttons, simple, no complication at all, right? Then they're very so many brokers, right, when you place an order, you'll not know whether the order is fulfilled or not. It'll take time. Even if it happens, your money will come late. So it takes a lot of time. What for them, it's instant. You place an order, you'll know immediately what has happened, right? And then one of the interesting things they have done is for people in the software space in the audience, right? They have also opened up their product for other people to use their platform to develop applications on top of their product. So they are trying to say that we are providing a platform for broking. And if you have an interesting idea and you want to develop a platform using the Zerodha platform, you want to develop an app or a product, and you use the Zerodha app, and of course there will be some fee arrangement that when they make money, Zerodha gets a cut of that. But it's like apps on Apple Store or Android Store, right? There they have an operating system. Here in this case, Zerodha has an application. So they are saying you can develop something which uses our application to develop your app. They have done that, right? And they don't market much. You're not going to see big posters, banners, TV ads by Zerodha. You will not see that. They are growing by word of mouth, right? Now, these are the things I can even observe very easily, or I did, which is why I made that list, right? About Zerodha's app. But what does that tell me? Which is our first step, right? What does that tell me, right? First thing which tells me about zero broker is one of the things I am as an investor I'm very angry about is that if you say something and later you charge me fees and I see it in my statement, right? That they have charged me some X rupees. So they are saying that no surprise. So they announce zero fees. They're clear, crystal clear, zero fees. So something they're saying that okay, basically there's no hidden anything. So trust us. So they are trying to develop an app on a company which I can trust. Where I feel no, they will not take some fee out without telling me, right? Then the reason they're educating me is because they are not trying you come in as gamblers. They're actually saying you come in, right? And we'll also tell you what it takes to invest in stocks, in bonds. We're going to put videos, we're going to put education material. We don't want you to lose money. We want you to get better and better at doing what you're doing, right? There is a certain type of customer they're targeting is what I'm getting a sense now from the first two, right? Let's see what kind of customer they're targeting. No gamification. So which means there are no fancy things where you click something and something rolls up and down. Nothing on the UI tells me that they're trying to entertain me. A lot of the apps, by the way, are go after gamification because they want to keep you engaged. They want to entertain you. Zerodha is saying we don't want to customers we are trying to entertain. Why? Let's see. Right? No push, no, they're not trying to do push to trade more. They're not trying to say, you'll see on WhatsApp, they're going to, companies bombard you to buy their products, to keep doing things. I mean, there are other brokers who keep doing that. But Zerodha doesn't do that. They don't push you to say, oh, we have a great stock tip, buy. They don't keep trying to push you to do things. They are saying, you come and do it. And we trust you'll come and do it on our app, right? They also basically they don't try. They are basically saying that all the data we have, actually we are going to open it up because we want to expand the capabilities of our platform. Let other people develop apps. Why are they doing that? Right? Who are they targeting? Right? And then Basically, they don't do any influencer marketing, nothing like that. No bulk SMS. They don't trouble you at all, right? So basically, they are growing through word of mouth. And why? Because word of mouth and trust will make your customer stay with you much longer than somebody coming in because they saw a fancy ad or a clickbait. They came in and did something and left, right? Something. So what kind of customer is this? This is important for you to know, because if you join Zerodha, you're going for an interview and they ask you, what do you think is another feature we should add to our Zerodha app? If you know this, you're going to know what kind of customer they're targeting. So you're not going to say that, oh, you know what, let's add a fancy button which says that when you click on this, you're going to see some fireworks coming out saying this is the stock tip we have today, some gamification, right? You're not going to say that if you understand this well, because what kind of customer are they targeting? So if you notice, they are targeting serious, self-directed, cost-conscious. I don't want to spend money unnecessarily, but I'm a serious investor. I'm not trying to do this like gambling, come in, try and go and leave. So if you notice, Zerodha's customer base is very loyal to them, because they have come in, they got educated, they see that Zerodha doesn't trouble them with pushing them to do a lot of things, but they also try to educate. So they are serious investors. Now, there are many companies out there who are also targeting bulk investors, like people who want to try it once and see how it goes, right? And that's also not wrong. But Zerodha's focus is not that, right? So, if you notice what they are doing, right, they are targeting what I given in the bottom, which is self-directed, cost-conscious, moderate to highly financially literate retail investors. What does that mean? We are not trying to target investors who are just saying, oh, I have just 1,000 rupees available, let me just try this out, like, how investing works. They're trying to get people who are consistently going to invest, who are interested in the stock market, right? And who then Zerodha says will work with you to make sure you get better and better at what you're doing, right? So it's like the OTT example I gave you. Netflix targets serious entertainment watchers, unlike Hotstar or Z, for example, right? Similarly, Zerodha has targeted certain customer base. This understanding is not easy, guys, because now you'll start thinking, why are they not advertising so much, right? Because there is a counter to this also, right? If everything is by zero word to mouth, will they not take a long time to grow? Because they're not doing any marketing, they're not doing any TV ads, no banners. So will that not take a very long time is the counter question I will have, right? But we'll talk about that in a minute. But here at least I went from listing down the key features or key things, key observations I have about the product, to now deriving what kind of customer they are targeting, right? And the customer they are targeting also, if you notice, one of the things that they are working with also, they want to create a community. That's why they opened up their product. So one type of customer they're targeting is who are serious investors, who are serious about learning how to invest, but they're also trying to create a community which also uses Zerodha app and develops very good tools around it to help investors. So what their goal is to create a community of people, and once you create a community, you get a lot of loyalty, right? And once you get loyalty, that person will keep spending with you only. They will not leave. That is what Zerodha is trying to do. Whereas you can look at like a app like Grow, right? GROWW. They went public. They also are successful. They were targeting people who are like, I just want to try this out. Move fast. They used to do tons of marketing. You used to see their ads on TV, on airports, on banners everywhere. They went into a very different strategy. They are going after volume investing. Tons and tons of people who invest once or twice is okay for them. So they went after volumes. Zerodha went the opposite way. So look at two companies in the same space competing with each other, but targeting two different kind of customers, right? So now, why did this happen? Why did Zerodha do this in the first place? Because see, traditionally in this investing domain, the most dominant people were the physical brokers, right? But then what happened was discount broking became viable, right? Once internet came in, Zerodha was one of the first companies or early companies in India who started realizing the potential of India with respect to online, because they saw that internet is going to become cheaper. People are tech savvy in general. They like to work on use their phones a lot, right? They start observing all of this. And they said that this is a time where the domain is shifting from the traditional broking world where you went and talked to a person, sat with him, decided, placed the order, to people are getting trust on doing things online. That is the same time when online commerce also grew, like Flipkarts of this world also grew, right? The second is the retail investing also. But if you notice 20 years back, right, common people did not invest in stocks. But over time, government also, if you'll notice, you notice a lot of ads even by the mutual fund industry saying mutual fund. They bring in Dhoni and Tendulkar to market about investing in mutual fund SIPs, basically, right? So the awareness was also growing in people that don't just put your money in banks and do fixed deposits, right? Invest in the stock market, right? So that's what they call as the retail boom, right? Lot of people opened demat accounts and started investing because they also started gaining trust in the market, saying, oh, I won't lose money just like that. If I'm smart and careful, I'll make more money than keeping my money just in the bank, right? And they were basically what Zerodha saw was the domain was moving in two different ways. One where people now were gaining the trust and becoming serious investors, and there were a lot of people who were trying, who are this volume investors who will come once and twice try. They wanted some fun, and Growg went after that. Grow went after that, but Zerodha came in. So their strategy was focused around the domain shift, around people basically trusting online things, online commerce, online buying, online selling rather than just a physical person, and also the fact that generally investing was becoming more and more popular in India, right? So now we can understand that why Zerodha created this zero brokerage model, why they created the simple to use application, what kind of investors, because that answers one of the questions, right? If you are going by word of mouth, you're not advertising, then you should have lots of people who are at least interested. And you will see in India, the interest in investing grew a lot in the last 15 years. So Zerodha did capitalize on that, right? And does what strategy do they reveal? The Zerodha is not trying to win the newest, most gamified, hungry segment. As I said, Grow went after that. Zerodha did not. They are not trying to go after them. So they are kept true to the customers, which is why they are very profitable. Once they have a customer, the customer doesn't leave them. They are very profitable, which is why they are not gone public yet. They don't need to raise money, right? It is protecting and monetizing trust and high value, which is what I exactly said, right? And then they are also trying to create an ecosystem, a community who will trust Zerodha. So they stick with them, right? So the inferred strategy statement, which I'm going to read out, which basically we can derive, is win the self-directed, trust-seeking investor for the long run by staying low cost and platform like funding. So the net, what we are saying is that if you are somebody studying Zerodha, you're going for an interview with Zerodha or joining Zerodha or any company, right, like Zerodha, if you study this, now you know their product, you know their customers based on the product, you understand what happened in that domain because of which they decided to build such a company with targeting certain type of customers who are serious investors. And now you understand where they're putting their money to create that ecosystem, that community. So now, if you're joining them, yeah, they will expect to work on such things that, oh, can you help me now build this platform so that more and more applications can be developed? Can you help make our application faster, cheaper, better? They're not trying to look at if can you develop more fancy UI? You're a UI developer. Can you develop fantastic UI for me? That's not their focus. Now, once you know this, imagine how impressive you will be in an interview or when you join the company, how many ideas you will have. So in this methodology, right, any product you can take and work backwards to understand the customer, the owner, domain, and thus have a point of view on the strategy. And this will give you a full understanding of the company. Right? So I'm sure that at this point, right, I mean, we can discuss certainly if you have any questions on your mind also, right? We can discuss that. But if you look at the power of this strategy, the power of this methodology, you're starting to get a sense, right? And you can just look around you and look at any product and try this out. What are the 5 features or some features which stand out for that product? What makes people buy this product and work backwards? Okay. So now, as I said, right, while I understand the strategy, it also gives me counter questions, right? Opposite questions. I can ask now these questions also now, right? So for example, if I'm not doing gamification, right? So now, if I'm not targeting those customers, how do I know if I'm not telling them come on the UI, right, and come on the UI and play with the UI, stay on the UI, because that's one way companies know how much the customer is use. More they use my product, more may they use my product, the more they're engaged with me. So if I'm not doing that, right, how do I know that my customer is engaged? But while that is true for many apps, where what they measure is how long a person is using the app, right? Which is that is true for Hotstar, Netflix, that how long, because that's an entertainment domain. Whereas Zero Da is saying, I don't need you to share my. In fact, it's the other way around. How fast do you come in, buy something, and leave? Then I know you're engaged. More and more you purchase without staying too much. Because more you stay on the app, that means I built a more complicated app, right? It's the opposite. So now I'll start understanding these things. That the metric or the way they're looking at engagement is how fast somebody comes in, does what they want to do, and gets out. It's interesting, right? So these are the kind of questions which have come to my mind now, right? So now I'll only take a few of them, right? So basically, if you take your growth has been word of mouth. So competition, yeah, they did let go of the users which Grow got, but that's okay, right? Because Grow actually struggled with profitability because they got people who came in, went, no loyalty, but they grew fast. Whereas Zero that doesn't need to raise money, they make a lot of money. They're very, very profitable because they stayed true to their customer. So the answer to that question is they're not even targeting that customer. They're not trying to grow exponentially. They're trying to say we are growing steadily, but we make a lot of money. Because for any company, right, revenue and profits are both important. In fact, profit is even more important. If you make a lot of revenue and you're still in losses, you're losing money, that's worse than doing slow growth, right? But at least I'm making money, right? So Zerodha is going after that. They're making money, right? So the reason I put this question now is because in this method, right, once you ask the questions at the beginning from or about the product, list down the capabilities, now you know the domain, the customer, the domain, and the strategy. In that interview or in your job to your manager, when they are discussing features, you can ask the counter question also. Because we are not doing this, how would we do this? So that's the kind of question. Because we are not doing any advertisement, then how would we attract new customers? How do I know my customer is liking my product? How are they engaging? So these are the questions which are now you're going to ask because you understand what you're not done in the product also, right? So as I said at the beginning, what you do is important. What you don't do in a product is also equally important. What you don't do tells you also a very powerful story about what the company is putting money in and why they are putting money in there and not somewhere else. So in this example of Zerodha, right, we had a product ready, but interesting thing is a product is never constant, right? A product evolves. What Zerodha app was 10 years back is not the same today. So does that mean as products change, I have to pay attention to the features which are changing, which also tell me that over time is the company strategy changing, right? That's a fact, right? I mean, Apple's strategy was never the same. They were never into music or mobile. They were a computer company, right? Things happened with the launch of the iPod and then the iPhone and then the iPad. So they also kept shifting their strategy, and today they are making far more money in phones than they're making in laptops or computers, which used to be their main strategy in the 80s and 90s, right? Mahindra is making more money now from urban vehicles than rural vehicles, right? So if I'm an engineer working or if I'm a person working in these companies, I need to pay attention that what new features are what features are coming in, what features are getting removed, which also tells me how the strategy is shifting. So let's take an example of that, right? Like in a transition, that how is there a, as you watch a company over time, would you be able to use the same method to know that what kind of strategy shift has happened because I see the product changing? Up to now, I hope basically where we are at today is a product is never constant. So in my life, right, I worked on products which have done almost a 180-degree shift, correct, over 5 to 8 years. Why? Because the domain kept changing. So I was in a domain where I used to do desktop management, desktop and laptop management software, right? And then mobiles came in, correct? Now for us, basically when mobiles came in, we kept studying the domain, right? Our customers were big companies, and we used to build software platforms to manage their laptop and their desktop, right? But now when mobiles came in, one thing companies started observing was that I no longer can just say that I will provide smartphones to my employees, right? So they started allowing employees to bring in their smartphones in their company. But that exposed the company to a lot of privacy and security risks, right? Because now employees had access to data, they had company email, company access to the company data. So now there was a risk of data privacy, right? So now, as we kept observing, we were one of the first companies who saw that the domain for enterprises was shifting from laptop security and desktop security to mobile security, right? And we basically shifted our focus, and we are one of the few companies who did really well and got acquired by IBM, right? Our company did really well, and we built that product from scratch because we saw the shift, correct? Now the reason we could see the shift because we kept studying our domain and our customers. We had our product, but we knew that the domain was shifting more and more towards mobile software, where companies have started putting money in securing the mobile devices much more than desktop laptop. So we would have died. So a lot of our competition died, by the way, right? And there are very smart people in our company who figured this out, and the people who didn't step up, who didn't pay attention to this, got left behind, right? So whenever you are joining a company, as you want to do better and better, you continuously pay attention to this, yeah, the shifts, and you kept changing your upgrading your skills, your focus based on that. If you don't, then when you hear about many people getting laid off, the people who have done this never get laid off. They don't get laid off. The people who remain in their old work and they are not moved on, they are not applied themselves, are the people who get laid off. So today, if you notice, even the big layoffs which are happening, right? People who are not embraced changes in their domain or the way their customers are wanting their products are the people being let go. Correct? So this method helps you keep updated. So you should always, in an organization, always be in the place where the investment is the most. If there is very little investment in the product you are working, one day this product is going to be stopped and you will be laid off. So this allows you to do the shifting within the organization and move into areas which are the focus of the company. So we're going to learn a transition example also. So while we do that, post your questions, but I'm now going to also give you the link to the attendance form. I'll keep it alive for 15 minutes. So right now I'll keep it alive for 15 minutes and then we'll shut it off. And then in some time we'll also publish the quiz, which also you'll have to do. These are all Google forms. So I'll publish the attendance form now. While we start the next part, which is a transition example, that how this company doesn't remain the same, right? And it's a company you know very well, but you will see that they have changed their strategy, and employees in that company also got laid off very recently. A lot of employees, and I know for a fact that I know somebody who's working there. That employees who saw this and helped the company understand and do the new strategy are the people they're keeping. The company who remained in the old world are getting laid off. The people who are in the old world. Okay. So let's use that example. I'll also publish the link in the meantime. Okay, and also as I said, post this also. I'll stay on in case any of you has questions. I will definitely answer them. Okay. So let's start the transition example basically. Okay. Right. So basically, in Zerodha's case, right, it was a snapshot. You joined, you looked at a product and you did the method. Now let's take example of a company like Nike. I want to take a non-software example also. So this is methodology is the same regardless of the product, right? So in the case of Nike, right, I hope everybody knows Nike, right? So Nike, as you know, is one of the most valuable companies in the world which makes sportswear, footwear, especially but sportswear overall, right? It's a brand everybody knows. That swoosh is known by everybody. But maybe in India we are not noticing it much. But over the last 3, 4, 5 years, they have been losing market share, right? Why is that? There are a lot of people who work for Nike and they have also let go of a lot of people. They have changed. Something has changed in Nike over the last 10 years. What has happened, right? Now, the same method can be used to figure that out, right? Now, I can take the product, the way they sell, the product is always the shoe, right? Obviously, correct? But I can look at the way they're selling the shoe also is the product. If you have to build an online store or you have to build an offline strategy, but end of the day, how I reach my customers is finally they have to buy shoes, right? But while they're doing that, did something shift with them over the last 10-15 years? As I said, today what I notice is that there's something which has happened because of which they have lost some market share, right? Now, if I want to study this, right, over a span of, I go back and look at a company, that is even going to tell me more, saying that where they were and where they are now, which is going to make me even more knowledgeable about the kind of stuff, if I join them, I have to focus on to build, right? So in Nike's case, it's very interesting, right? So like any other company, if I look at their data, right, we see that before 2017, they were like any other traditional shoe company, right? They used to build shoes and try to market a lot, advertise a lot. They used to sign big sports stars and sell it to stores, via stores, big stores, right? Especially in the United States, right? There are these big stores where they will stock Nike stores. There'll be people who will be knowledgeable about the Nike shoes and they'll sell it to the customers, right? But then something happened, right? Where there is this whole thing which started happening, saying that, oh, I have to reach my customer directly, right? Which means that why do I need these stores at all? Why can't I directly sell it online to my customers? Correct? So now if you start selling online to your customers and you start giving different prices, then for the stores are not going to like it, because now you're eating their business. So you have to kind of figure out how to if you're going to do both, it's very difficult. Understand what I'm saying, right? Because if I go for, like, for example, Flipkart or Amazon are not trying to say that, oh, we also will stock Amazon will stock their products in physical stores. If I do, I'll have my own stores. Amazon may have its own stores, but it's not trying to sell its products to other store, right? Correct? There are companies who sell online and offline, or the companies who sell only offline or only online. But it's very tricky, because the pricing, if I see a big discount online and the same thing is more expensive offline, then the offline guy is going to say, I will never be able to sell, because people are going to open their phone and compare prices, right? So how do I do it? So now with Nike, what happened was that before 2017, they are obviously a big brand today also, but what happened in between was, if I look at their data, the customer base they were targeting, people like me and you, right? And there are people who are premium sports players who are you're using Nike products, but most of their customer base were normal people, right? And they said, why should I not go directly to you? Why do I need this store? So let's get out of the stores. Let's develop an application, a product which will allow people to go online and buy shoes directly, right, from Nike. Correct? And now between 2017 and 22, they tried that, and something happened. And by the way, there's a very successful example of this. So this you guys won't know, but in the 90s, right, the computers used to be sold like that in stores only, right? At that time you had Hewlett Packard, HP, you had a company called Compaq, you had a company and other companies, Gateway, there was a company called Gateway who made these computers, right? And they used to put them in stores. People went to stores and bought them, just like we buy from Chroma or a Geo store today, right? But then Dell came about, and that time Dell said, I want to bypass all this, and they only started selling direct to customers online. So you could, that time it was not online, but you could order a phone, order by phone, or order directly with the company. And they became extremely successful because they could give lower prices. Because now all of a sudden they don't need to give discounts to they don't need to sell their computers to the store owners, to the store who's stocking it, and then they sell it to the customer, right? So now they could sell better computers at a lower price, and they could get a lot of the customer data also, because they now exactly knew what the customer wanted. So Dell is a very successful example of who changed, who looked at the domain and said customers are preferring, because computers are expensive, right? So that time there were tech savvy customers who understood it, and they said, why should I depend on stores if I can directly buy and come from the manufacturer itself? But that didn't work for Nike. Why? Right? Because their bet was, right? So rather than reading, right, their bet was that if I go fully online, so that they had a product, good shoes, And they thought that they're selling to customers who would prefer directly to engage with them. So they started getting out of stores and started selling it online. But what happened? Because they started selling online and because every customer is online is used to getting deep discounts, customers started saying, yeah, it's online. I need a sale, I need discount. And Nike used to not give as many discounts before. So now they had to deep discount it. So they started giving the same shoe at lower prices because customers who are typically, it's our psychology, right? Anything which is online, we expect deals. We expect it to be cheaper, right? On top of that, they started losing their customers also. Because what they noticed was that in the area of shoes, right? I go in and I typically don't go in saying that I want Nike shoe only and this size, this type, this color, this for this sport. Usually go in saying I want to buy a running shoe, right? And then you get educated in the store saying, oh, there is Asics, there is Nike, there is Reebok, there is something else, and then you make a decision. So there's somebody who you consult with because shoes is a very personal thing, right? And they thought that that is not very important. And online, people didn't get that. So they basically stopped, they started going to the stores, they stopped seeing Nike on the shelves, and they started the new brands called Hoka or On. And all these new players were not even there 5, 8, 7 years back. They started selling a lot more, and they started stealing Nike customers. So the strategy was to go from offline selling to fully online selling, right? And then they now have gone to the hybrid mode where they came back and saying, wait a second, we need to do both. But how do we do both smartly? So let's do it based on loyalty. Let's try to create a loyal base. One of the things they realize is people are not loyal to their brand, right? So Nike, as I given in the shift, right, inferred shift, Nike overestimated how many customers were loyal app first and underestimated how many of them were ordinary convenience driven shoppers. What does that mean? The assumption was that people are tech savvy, they'll go online, they'll know, they look at the pictures and buy a shoe. But shoe is a very personal thing, right? So a lot of them, their customers were actually just ordinary customer like me who will walk into a store and then browse and then look at a shoe, feel it in my hand, talk to the shop owner, store owner, he'll tell me certain things and I'll make a decision, right? And their sales started going down, right? And then when they cut the middleman and went to the customer directly and removed it from the store, what did it do, right? Basically what it would do was the fact that I could not physically discover my product, I could not see it also, I could not feel it, touch it. I'll say, okay, let me try that brand called Hoka. I see that looks pretty good. Let me try On, let me try something else, right? And that era they lost the customer. And now they're doing the correction, right? So basically now they're saying that while I want to directly talk to my customer, I can't cut the store now. So they are now creating a loyalty program where you can go online, you can browse, do everything, right? But it'll all not stop you from buying offline. They'll still say, okay, in this store, you can go to the store and buy. They'll also tell you the store list that you can go here and buy this product. So they are using the online thing for getting customers to educate them and make them more and more loyal to Nike. But they are still depending on the offline stores because they notice that once they go into the store and if they are already the online thing, they are kind of excited by the new product. Then when they go offline, right, the purchase is happening because in my head now Nike is there and I'll go and ask questions, feel the product and I'll buy the product, right? So the looking at now, and I basically, if you will notice if you go on their website, right, and if you're following the news around them or what they're doing, you'll easily be able to derive this, right? Now, why is this an example of a transition? Why is this example important, right? Because whenever you join a company, right, you will start with a product and we learn that methodology, correct? But over time, let's say you stay in the company for 5, 10 years, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. These things are going to keep happening, right? So now, if you don't understand what it was before, you will not be able to understand what it is now. As an example, you're working on a product and your manager says, hey, next release, we are going to remove these 3 features and we're going to add these 2 features. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to say, why? What happened? Is there a strategy shift happening? And the reason to know why a strategy shift is happening, because in the new strategy, they are going to put money and people. So if you're not part of that strategy, you're going to get laid off. So you better be part of that strategy. So if you understand the strategy, you're going to ask for work in that area. and then you will become valuable to the company. Else you'll working on the old thing, and one day you lose your job. Because as a strategy shift, you have to also shift along with the strategy. You have to stay in the place where the company is investing the money. Always remember that. Always pay attention to where the company is putting money. Put work on those products, work in those areas. If the company has started heavily investing in cloud, you better be one of the cloud enablers in the company, not working on the traditional product. If they're investing a lot on, not AI is too big, but these kind of applications with AI, then you better be in that area. Because they're investing in AI, but not overall. They're investing in one part of their business with AI. You better be in that then. Right? So with Nike, the reason I wanted to give an example, the first example was where there is a product and you derived all of this. In this example, you looked at a change over time to derive what change in the domain, what was about their customer they're targeting, and what is the strategy they kept changing. In this case, the customer did not change. The same customers they started losing. They wanted to get them back. So they changed the strategy because they made a mistake with one of the strategy changes they did in between. Right? And then you can, as usual, ask some of the pointed questions, right? Like the second question was the core assumption that owning the relationship justifies premium pricing wrong, which means when I went online, I thought that okay, if I the customer directly with me, I cut the middleman, right? Will they still pay a big premium for me? Can I keep the same price? But it did not happen. Customer says online, I need a discount, right? But now because you understand this, you can ask these pointed questions. And that makes you very impressive in an organization. That makes the person who has the ideas, who has the understanding, and then you'll have ideas saying, hey, now I get it, let's do this. Can we do this feature? Can we make this change to our service? You'll be the person because now you have a full understanding. You have good questions. And that makes you very valuable. Right? So bringing it all together, right? So one way is, as I said, you can go from understanding your domain to understand the customers to the product to the strategy, right? Which we started at the beginning. Other way is start from the product and understand the customer, understand the domain, and thus understand the strategy, right? You will mostly have to do the second one because when you join a company, nobody is going to sit with you and explain their domain and customer and strategy to you. They'll give you a product to work on. So now second, but as you rise in the organization, you will be able to do number one. Because now you are as a part of the people who are actually making big decisions for the company. And you'll reach there very fast because you did the second part very well. Then you can now start taking a view saying, what are the domain shifts? How does that influence the direction of my investments? And thus the direction of my, the way my product is going to shape up now. You'll be part of that. So that you will start using the first forward method also. But start with the reverse method because that's what you're going to be starting with as a fresher, right? And this is the kind of thing, guys, I keep saying this. I'm seeing what is happening in the job market on a day-to-day basis. I see the kind of interviews. I myself take a lot of interviews, right? And I know the kind of questions I'm asking nowadays. Very different than what I asked 10 years back or 5 years back, in fact, right? So if the obvious question any company is asking is, how are you more valuable than AI? See, these are the kind of things which will allow you to answer that question. Because the moment you say, I can write good code, they're going to say AI does that. Oh, I can do analysis and data analysis, and I can create charts, graphs, I can analyze, AI does that well. They are looking for understanding now, right? So AI will be able, once you know this, you can use AI now to produce material. Because now you can control AI. It becomes your assistant, right? So the understanding, once you have, you can use AI like a tool. But if you don't have that, then AI will become the one who is doing all the things, and then the company is going to say, what's your value, right? This is happening on a day-to-day basis, by the way. The people who are being let go by companies are these kind of people. But the moment you demonstrate understanding, moment you have that insight and you ask the right question, and you have this overall understanding saying that, wait, I have an idea now because I understand why this feature is not getting used well by my customer. Because I understand my customer now. Let's improve it this way. That's when you start becoming valuable. AI can't do that. There are many parameters, right? There are constraints in the company on the budgets, on the kind of people they have, the competition. Lot of things are there which AI can't just assume and give answers for. But if you know all of this and you use this method, then you can use AI like a tool. I know I'm repeating myself, but guys, this is so important. I want all of you guys to really do well in today's world, and some of you guys who understand this will do really well, because AI is going to accelerate your career actually. But for many who don't do this, they become the not don't become the thinkers. It is going to decelerate their careers. Okay. So in summary, this is what we learned today, right? There is a forward method, there's a reverse method, right? And always, I mean, the question is, right, you'll always, if you're giving in an interview, right, you're doing inferences, correct? You're coming up with your point of views, correct? So make this a habit, right? Look at a product, and even if in your college projects, if you're picking a project, don't pick a project just because of the technology. Pick a project where you understand the problem, what you're trying to solve. Is it exciting? Is it, who is the customer I'm targeting? Is it even required in that space? Just don't do technology for technology's sake, right? Use these methods, and then when you present your project to a teacher or a reviewer or an industry project, all of a sudden, right, they'll know exactly why you've done what you've done, how you can improve, and how it is a valuable product. It starts very small with college projects, but this method, this habit remains with you as you go for interviews and does join companies. So I hope this is clear. I hope you understood the methodology and what it means by what I said by understanding companies. All right. So all the best, and use it as much as you can. Yeah, so guys, I'm going to post the link for the test now, quiz now, and you can use it. In the meantime, I'm there. If you can ask, if you have any questions, please post them. I hope the session was interesting, useful. Try it out, and we are always there to help you in case you have any questions. Yeah. So this is the link. I'll also pin the link. Yes. So the link is pinned now, which is for the quiz. So you go ahead and take that. But I'll be happy to answer any questions if you guys any based on this. If you have any questions, just post them here, and I'll keep the link open. Right now it is 3:30. I'll keep it open for 20 minutes. So 3:50 we'll close the link for the test, and I'm going to close the link for the attendance now. But in the meantime, just post your questions. Can you give project ideas? Yeah, project ideas. So you contact me separately if you have any specific questions on any project, and if you think it's value, if you think there's a problem you want to solve, I'll be happy to help. In case you have any, you want to do any brainstorming, reach out to us. But yes, I mean, select projects where the problem is interesting. Technology is an enabler. Technology is not the reason why you do a project. Technology just enables you to do a good project. So find good projects which where you understand the problem, get excited by the problem, and trying to solve something, right? So yeah, we'll be happy to help you with that. In case you have any questions, so reach out to us if you have any questions. Yeah. Suppose we are for a company interview, what should we primarily target about company? Which, yeah, so if you're going for an interview, right, study the company the way we are teaching you right now, right? So you when you study the company, you know that during your interview you'll be asked questions around the domain they are working in and the product they have, the product that today have, right? So all these usually these products are, you can find enough information out there. You can sometimes if it's a B2C product, you can download it and play with it. So use this methodology to study the product and figure out what are the main features, who are they targeting. And if you go with all this information to the interview, the three most obvious questions which are always asked in the interview is, why would you want to join my company, right? What do you have because of which we should hire you, and if we hire you, what do you think you can do differently than what we already do, or something like that. There will be all questions around this, right? So now if you know the company's product does, and you have an idea about their customer and the domain, go prepared with this. And so then when they ask you these questions, it's a very studied answer. It's not like random, oh, I want to join you because you work on exciting area. No, it's very specific. And then they will go into the technology part. So once they confirm that you actually are somebody who understands, and then they'll make sure your technical skills are good, right? But this understanding is what you need to acquire. And if you use this methodology, they'll be very impressed, because when you go there and if they ask you, so do you have any questions about our company? Now your questions won't be like, oh, what does your company do? Why do you do this? It's very specific. Though I looked at your product, and in the product I found this feature, and I don't, with the customer you're targeting, I don't think the customer will use this feature. Why do you have it? Or the other way around, which is I saw these 5 features. Curious to know what is the most popular feature. So it's so specific that the interview will be impressed. Yeah, that you understand it. While as you are doing the quiz, if anybody has any questions, they can post. Well, full stack dev, sure, but no longer full stack dev is enough, guys. So I nowadays call it full stack engineer. Full stack dev meant you can develop the front end, the middle layer and the back end, right? But all these things you get AI's help now. So I have a feeling that going forward, people, customers, or companies won't hire engineers just to do one thing. They would want a full understanding while you'll be focused on one thing. So full stack engineer won't be enough anymore. Full stack developer won't be enough anymore. You'll need to understand, even if you're a developer, you need to understand product design. You need to understand product marketing. You need to understand what features are, how are they decided. You need to understand support, because for your product development, you can do it much faster than before now because of AI, right? So they'll expect you to contribute overall, not just in your area. So this full stack developer, I think you should aim to become a full stack engineer who understands overall. If products run for a long time but price high, then should the product? It's a very open-ended question. Do you have a specific question, Siraj? I mean, a specific company, specific product, because pricing strategy is very different, right? So why does Netflix charge premium pricing but still people pay for it? Versus Z, they had to do a search pricing but they did FIFA. But can Z charge as much as Netflix? They cannot, right? So what is Z strategy? How would Z make money? So, I mean, we have to be very specific in our questions. Then we can discuss. So attendance link is closed now, guys. I told you that attendance link, we had kept it open for more than 30 minutes. Now it's closed, so it won't be reopened now. But the test is there. So give the test, and the test also will be shut down by 3:50. Yeah. In the interviews, we get a lot about DSA, but DSA concepts actually get used in companies. Yeah. See, they are trying to test your core knowledge, right? They are trying to know whether your technical knowledge and non-technical. Nowadays, much more they are asking open-ended questions, right? They are asking questions which will say, what are the 3 things which will improve our product? It is at that level now. Or we'll ask you a question saying that, oh, if you compare this product and this product, right? What are the major changes I should make to my product to compete with this product? See, it's that level. So there you have to think feature, function, strategy, domain, customer, and also then the technology part, right? So yeah, I mean, companies will take technical interviews. So don't be scared about that. But if you understand all of this, they know you get enough help on the technical part now. They're trying to look at your overall understanding with a focusing that you prove that, then you need to be good enough in the technology part, right? So technical interviews will always happen, but no longer you will be hired only based on that. Comment on the strategy of Claude and ChatGPT. I also don't know. Right now, they are at a point where they're losing a lot of money because they're trying to gain market share, right? So it's interesting to study Claude and ChatGPT. And if you notice some of the announcements they do, just study their announcements. So, for example, Anthropic, which owns Claude, has started a services company, right? So why are they doing that? Why are they starting a services arm? So it's a longer discussion, but a lot of the things they're doing and the kind of features they're adding to their product will tell you what are they targeting as a strategy, because they eventually need to start making money, which none of them are today, right? But I mean, if you look at their announcements, if you look at the kind of features they're adding, the pricing they're doing, you'll get a good idea of their strategy. So it's a longer discussion, but use this methodology and come up with an opinion, and then I will be happy to discuss that with you. Attendance link was working all the time. Come on, I mean every a lot of people successfully give attendance, so that excuse is not valid. Sorry. But these questions are mostly asked. No, no, not for BBA and MBA people. Not at all. See, it's not about BBA, MBA. See, for example, this is the actual question I ask in an interview, right? So I give the app, right? For one of the companies I advise, I give the app and I ask them that how do I know which are the most popular features of this app used by my customer and what features customers are not using. And if I know that, how will I change my application? It has nothing to do with BBA, MBA because now this is not a technical question, right? It's about customer usage of my product. So now I need to ask questions around the user journey, how customers are using, what are they using and why are they using. Then I need to ask for the right data during the interview saying, if you give me this data, I will be able to, right? Then I ask a question saying, okay, if you get this, tell me one feature I would remove or one feature I would keep. It's not a technical question, right? For that, you'll have to have an understanding of the kind of customers this product is targeting. You'll have to have an understanding of the domain they are in. Else, how do you answer this question? So finally, you're going to develop a technical product, but I want you to have a full understanding of why certain features are getting done and certain are not getting done, right? So it's not about BBA, MBA. It's about understanding, which has nothing to do with the degree. So do you agree that there is an AI bubble? It's not a bubble. See, every new thing, even when cloud came in, right? There was a big cycle where everybody got so excited, and over time, then people realized how to use the cloud in the right way. So the people who understood that did really, really well. Companies and people. Same is going to happen with AI. Today, everybody is excited about AI. But what is AI getting used for today? Code generation, some automation, testing. But eventually, AI will be used to actually become part of products. Today, I don't see that much. Outside of examples like, let's say, self-driven car, where AI is used very heavily, right? Many products are still not using AI directly. They're using much more for code generation to develop the product. But people who start understanding this and start using AI in the right way for their product are the kind of engineers who are going to do well. And this I saw this with cloud, I saw this with mobile also. So it's not a hype, it's not a bubble. It is big. It is very, very big. But people don't know yet how it is going to impact all the products in the world. And new engineers are going to figure that out. And with AI, since it's generative, it's intelligent, right? The people who actually are properly going to use AI for their product are the people who have this full understanding, which we talked about today, right? So don't call it a bubble. Yeah, it is big right now. People expect too much out of it. So it will all balance eventually because a lot of things people feel it will do, it will not do, but a lot of things it will also do, right? So yeah, it's not a bubble, but it is big, by the way, guys. It is very big and it's going to be part of our life now going forward. Why are product-based companies mostly preferred for job security? Job security has nothing to do with product-based or services-based, right? Job security is with respect to your value to the company. Even if you join an Infosys or a TCS, there are people who have worked there for 25, 30 years without and have done really well. Same for product companies who have done really well or not done well. It's about the value you bring to the company, right? If you join a company as a tester and you remain a tester and you don't help the customer, help overall in the quality area, then one day I'm going to say, why do I need you for doing testing? I have AI now which will give me the test plan and do automation. I don't need you anymore. But a good tester will study the customer, will study what the customer likes or doesn't like, what kind of problems are happening, and come back with suggestions for the product. A tester's job is not only to test, their job is to improve the product. And the testers who do that, they have job security. A tester who just does the assigned work saying, test this and they do that, they're going to get laid off. Right? So job security has nothing to do with product or services. It has to do with the value you bring to the organization. And your value has to be more than somebody else in the organization. Right? And now with AI, you're competing with saying, why should AI replace you? What do you think about a non-technical, less digital fields in engineering, like mechanical? I think all those fields, right, in my mind, right, are going to grow big. Because now software and intelligence, software intelligence available easily. So I have a feeling that we are going to see AI getting into manufacturing companies, pharmaceutical, mining, and in fact, I think software engineers who get an interest in domain. So you can't join a company which is in mining or oil and gas, and you're a software engineer, you don't have any interest in mining or oil and gas. Then you won't get a job. But they will going to have many opportunities because they are going to start bringing in AI to improve what they're doing. There are a lot of data also, right? So you need to learn how to study domains, how to do what we just talked today. Then the jobs are no longer in the future going to be limited to only software companies. In fact, the other way around, software is going to go into all these traditional companies because now AI allows them to crunch a lot of data and come with a lot of intelligence to improve their company. And they are going to need software engineers for that. But they are going to need software engineers who understand overall, show interest in the domain and the customer, and not just say, I know Java, I know Python, I know databases. Then that's not enough. What is the other question? Sir, what do you think about IBM? Someone who wants to work at IBM. Well, I mean, IBM, they do a lot of, which part of IBM we have to see, but yeah, I mean, IBM does a lot of things, right? So if you want to work in IBM, you should use this methodology to study them and say that what are they investing in, what is their strategy, and where they're investing in, where they're putting money is the area you need to get good at. Right? Because if you just go to IBM, yeah, they might be, the IBM is so big that you might be try to work in an area which is now shutting down or they're not putting money. So if you use the method we learned today and study that what part of IBM or what products of IBM they're putting more money, position yourself for that. Study that, become good in that area. Then in the interviews, they'll know that this is the right guy to hire. So this methodology will tell you what area is IBM focusing on, which I should now become good in for an interview. Right? Same answer I just gave. Capgemini, IBM, same. Where should we look for job in a new company? Where do we learn a lot? How do you think we students can gain knowledge or skills in non-technical fields? If you well, that's what, right? So in Satkam we teach you technology anyway you're learning in college, right? So we are like us. There'll be many sources out there on the web, but you need to be very structured about learning. So in Satkam, all the topics we are going to teach you are going to tell you how to apply the technology you are going to you are learning, the technical skills you are learning, how to apply yourself. So next session, for example, you're going to learn about the financials of a company, how money is managed in a company. Why is that important? Because because if you have less money, the same product you will build in a very different way than if you have money, right? But to understand that, you have to understand how company manages their finances. So we're going to cover that in the next session. So we are going to try to teach you all these things which are beyond technology, and that will help you apply your technical skills. So even though Python has become crucial for ML development in overall AI field, what languages like Java? Yeah, Java still, because see, a lot of applications are still built in Java, right? The old applications are still, and Python doesn't have all the capabilities. So Java will still be used, and tomorrow, as I said, right, you need to be good enough that technology will keep moving. Java, today it's Python, tomorrow something else will come. So you have to keep evolving with that. It's okay today if you know Java really well, but if it is, you need to understand the core concepts and then keep upgrading yourself. Because yeah, it will happen. So in my lifetime, hundreds of UI frameworks have come and gone, right? So if I said that, oh, I worked on React, so I'll always work on React, that won't work. You need to understand UI development overall, and then the frameworks will keep changing. Is it important to have core skill like learning C and C++? Yeah, because see, those are the fundamentals. It's like asking, do I need to know physics? Do I need to know chemistry? Do I need to know mathematics? These are the building blocks. You will not be able to do well in a job if your fundamentals are weak. So why tomorrow, even if you use AI and there is a problem and you have to debug the problem, if your fundamentals are weak, how can you debug the problem? You will not be able to know what is wrong and why it is wrong. So C teaches you fundamentals, right? Those fundamentals are important. Those are the building blocks, right? So you have to know them. If I don't know if somebody is mechanical engineering, if I don't know thermodynamics, if I don't know machine design, as a mechanical engineer, right, so I will have AI help me do design. If my fundamentals are weak, tomorrow if AI makes a mistake, I will never know. So no, you absolutely have to. Jack of all trades. No, not like that. See, you need to be an overall person for sure. But you need to have depth in your area of expertise. You're a software engineer, and you need to have depth there. If you're a mechanical engineer, you need to have depth. But along with the depth, where you're going to get a lot of help now, you need to be also broad. So it's not jack of all trades. You need to be really good in certain areas, deep. But overall, you should know a lot of things now in the new world. right? So yes, you should be jack of all trades, but master of none is not allowed. You need to be a master of some things for sure. So you need to be jack of all trades and master of some. Let me put it that way. Yeah, hardware. Yeah, absolutely. Hardware has tons of. I mean, hardware. In fact, my gut feel is that with AI coming in, right, you're going to see a lot of integration of hardware and software. Smart cars, smart machines, smart this, smart that. All these are hardware and software combination. So in fact, my take is pure software engineers. They have to start taking a lot of interest in hardware because your software will get integrated with something to do with hardware. So hardware and software integration has a lot of future. With what they used to call them IoT, but I think much more than that now. With AI coming in, you're going to see a lot of smart machines, right, coming out. How do UPI companies make profit? Yeah, so see, UPI, what they do is they try to sell you additional services. So yes, UPI by itself, right? The government has given a framework, and which is why you saw Paytm, Google Pay, and all that coming in. What they're trying to do is acquire you as a customer, so you do other things with them. So there you go, and they'll give you some promotion saying that, oh, scratch this, and then you will get this promotion. They get a cut from that company if you buy. It's the same like advertisements, right? So they're trying to get a lot of your data when you use UPI with them. And with that data, they'll use that data to sell that data for advertisements, sell your data for other things, and that's how they make money. Because once you use UPI, you're also giving them a lot of your own data, right? Just like when you do Google search, they're getting a lot of data from you, right? So while on the UPI itself, they're not making money. They're making money by getting your data and using it to send you ads or promoting things. When you buy, they get a cut. So there are multiple ways they make money. So 4 more minutes for me to shut the exam. Okay. If we talk about phone manufacturing company, we see companies like Samsung or other brands try to always implement new technology in their product. But why does Apple? Apple also does a lot of that, right? See, Samsung has to compete on the. Samsung is a phenomenal company who also is very very good in hardware, right? They make chips, they make the glass, they're very good hardware company. So they keep doing this folding phones, this that, because they can't compete on the operating system. They use Android, whereas Apple has their own operating system. So they do a lot of innovation on the software side. Whereas Android, while Samsung does some, they can do better than Apple on the hardware side. So if you notice, the foldable phone came from Samsung before Apple, right? They have to leverage what they are very good in, which is on the hardware side. That's why you see them doing a lot of new things. Whereas Apple has a very loyal customer base, which buys their phones not just for the hardware but also for their operating system. So they keep doing a lot of innovations on their operating system or on their software also. That's why. Why do you think about the roles we in someone and taking this on more scientific field like research? Yeah. In fact, in research, but see, that's what, right? So people who are graduating with degrees in ML or AI and whatnot, calling ourselves data scientists is not correct. There are very, very, very few people who are true data scientists. So if you are interested in the area of research, you need to go very deep. You need to not stop at bachelor's, because research is an area which will have a lot of scope going forward, and it can be applied research, guys. It doesn't need to be theoretical research, right? So for example, you can go into research and go into areas where you can say applying software in domains like space technology, defense, pharmaceutical, and there you can go very deep on using AI, using software to do something in those domains. So these are areas with a lot of future actually. Maybe Apple researches first and learns from the mistakes of the. No, they don't. Apple is a very innovative company. They don't have to wait for mistakes by other companies. Apple has been on the forefront of innovation right from the beginning. So no, they sometimes they do, but Apple has been a very innovative, original company who comes up with things before anybody else. They're one of the most innovative companies in the world. You just don't think that because they are after the iPhone, they're not launched much, right? But they will. They're a very innovative company. They don't wait for just others to make mistakes and learn. They do original stuff quite a lot. In fact, that has been their key to their success. They're the first to come out with the iPod, first to come out with the iPhone, something which is that good. Some first to come out with a proper tablet. In fact, the other way around, people copy them. Right? Any other questions? I hope you enjoyed the session. I hope you guys learnt. Maybe in other words, they would be seeing how does the new products. Yeah, but they come up with their own products. I mean, Apple has a history of original innovation. Do analog engineering or scope? Analog, as in, I'm assuming you're meaning combination of software, hardware, or I don't know. You may want to expand your question. What do you think was something you would have benefited a lot if you had learned? Yeah, I mean, I think what I'm telling you, these are my lessons. It took me a long time to realize that my value in a company was not only on the technology side. The more and more I learned that I can understand my customer better, I can understand my domain better, and I can contribute to product ideas. It took me time to realize that. I was also like you guys initially focused only on my technical skills, right? Not enough. So it took me, what I'm telling you now, it took me time to learn, which is why we are helping you guys learn things which we took us a long time to learn. So if somebody had told me what I'm telling you guys, I think I would have accelerated my career by a few years. Why are RAM manufacturers? What is the question? No, that's not exactly true, right? I mean, they will go where the demand is, where the money is, right? It's not like they're not giving chips to, But by the way, they're very different chips. There's a very good book called Chip Wars. You should read that book too if you want to understand this. It's called Chip Wars, CHIP Wars. It's a phenomenal book which talks about the whole domain of chip manufacturing, how chips are made, how they're sold, for how innovation happens. That book will tell you a lot. Great, great. Jyotirithik. Yeah, absolutely. I also look forward to next week's session. Also very interesting. It's going to focus a lot on the financial sides of company. Somebody else will be taking it. It will be very interesting. Apple under Steve Jobs was sort of a company that manufactured a lot of products and was trying to divide the customers by under Tim Cook. No, not true, not true, not true, not true, not true, not true. You should read the. That's not true at all, Ayush. Read the book. There's a big book by Walter Isaacson called Steve Jobs. The name of the book is Steve Jobs. Read. In fact, he was the guy who had the vision to say that I'm going to make an ecosystem or for my customer that once they get into Apple, it's all they live in a connected world. In fact, he was the one who had that vision. So you should read that book. Sir, can you please guide us for this app? What app? I mean, if you guys need any guidance, specific questions, right? Reach out to us and we'll be happy to help, give our inputs. Okay, so I'm going to shut the link for the this thing now, the exam now. You can reach me on my number by WhatsApp. Any other questions? Else we can end the session. If you have any questions, please ask. Else we can end the session. Yeah, attendance leave we can't open now, right? Because it said, right? I mean, the attendance leave was open for 30 minutes in between the session. So that was a very long time. It takes 2 seconds, literally less than a minute to do the attendance. Now we can't reopen it, guys. Thanks, Shubham. Yeah, we had a good time also. Hopefully, you use this for your college projects. Use these techniques, what we are teaching you, the methods to practice while you are in college. Yeah, Tosho, I think yeah, it was not opening in the laptop. You could have opened it on your phone. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean it opened for hundreds of other students. So I don't know why it didn't open for you. That there is no reason. The link was working. I tested myself, and hundreds of students have given the attendance. So as I told you, right, we'll keep it open during the session for some time, and then the test. So now the test link is also done. Okay, if there are no more questions, I'm going to stop the stream and stop the session. Thank you for your time. Um, See you next time. Will I brief on this topic of AI in space technology if I want to do research? Yeah, I mean, I won't be able to. We don't have that much time, but it is phenomenal actually. The amount of stuff which is happening with AI in space. In fact, there are companies who are doing that for a living. So you should actually study, research that, and it's a very. I think it's an area which is going to see a lot of good people getting jobs. And there are in India itself there are hundreds of startups now in this space, in space technology and in defense, who are, but they need people who are also interested in that domain. They understand the domain. You can't just say I'm a software engineer. You'll have to have an interest in space technology actually. But there are a lot of great jobs now in that, and AI is also getting used heavily there. So study that. If you are specifically after studying, if you have questions, I'm happy to discuss it. But yeah, I mean, I know two companies myself who are doing really great work. I mean, just sometime few days back, you saw what Skyroot did, right? That's pretty amazing. There's no book which talks about software jobs, guys. Software jobs keep changing. I mean, what you need to learn is what kind of skills companies are looking for now. And as I said, they're looking for full stack engineers. What we are teaching you, the thinking part they're looking, and then the technical part you need to be obviously good in any way. But the no longer just with technical part you'll get a job. You need to demonstrate your thinking part. So there's no book which will tell you how to get a job. Else everybody will get a job, right? Then that's not. You need to fight to get a good job. And I'm saying that if you acquire the skills we are teaching you, if you practice these methods, almost 100% you'll stand out in an interview to get a job. All right. There are no more questions. I'm going to stop the stream. Thank you for your time.